Something unusual just happened in the Invermere housing market. Home prices are rising, but sales have almost disappeared. And when those two things happen at the same time, it usually means the market is entering a very different phase, because the latest housing data for February 2026 just came out for the Kootenay region, and buried inside those numbers is a signal that many buyers and sellers are going to miss. Today we're going to break down exactly what's happening in the Invermere real estate market right now, what the numbers actually mean, and the three major changes that could shape housing in this region through the rest of 2026. Because whether you're buying a vacation property, selling a home, or investing in the Columbia Valley, understanding this shift could make a huge difference in the decisions that you make this year. Before we zoom into Invermere, we need to zoom out, because Invermere sits inside the broader Kootenay housing market. And right now, that regional market is sending some very clear signals. According to the February 2026 stats, across the Kootenay region, residential home sales have dropped 29.4% year over year. Dollar volume down 35%. Active listings kind of up. New listings kind of down. Now, when a housing market loses nearly 1/3 of its transactions in a single year, something important is happening. Demand is slowing. But here's the interesting part. Prices haven't collapsed. And in many areas, it's still rising, which tells us that this market isn't crashing, it's just transitioning. But you got to pay attention, okay? Now let's zoom into Invermere specifically. According to the February data, Invermere recorded one single-family home sale. Benchmark price was $751,300. Prices up 8.8% year over year. One sale. That's incredibly low transaction volume. You need to buy your favorite realtor lunch. But here's the interesting part. Despite a few sales, prices are still trending upwards, which means something important is happening beneath the surface. This market isn't collapsing. It's simply very thin right now. And thin markets behave very differently than high volume markets. Condos and apartments. Now let's look at the rest of the housing mix. Condos and apartments recorded 2 sales with benchmark prices around $408,600. Now that's significant, because condos and apartments in places like Invermere often represent vacation buyers, investors, or entry-level recreational buyers. And when that segment is still active, it tells us something important. Lifestyle demand still exists, but buyers are being way more selective. Here's where things really get interesting, okay? Because the biggest change happening in Invermere right now isn't the price. It isn't even the number of sales. It's actually who's in control of the market today. And when we look at the next set of numbers, that power shift becomes very clear. So pay attention. Across the Kootenay region, the average time it takes to sell a home right now is about 65 days. Now that might not sound long, but compared to the pandemic boom, it represents a very different environment. During the peak years of the market, homes often sold in days, sometimes hours, quite often before the sign even went in the yard. Today's buyers are taking their time, and that's because the buyers who remain active in the market right now are much more analytical. They're comparing homes, they're negotiating, and they're thinking long term. And that changes how housing markets behave. So to understand Invermere today, we have to do a bit of a rewind. Between 2020 and 2022, housing markets across British Columbia experienced one of the strongest booms in decades. Interest rates were extremely low, remote work expanded dramatically, and vacation markets like Invermere suddenly became very attractive to buyers from larger cities. People wanted second homes, recreation properties, lake access, mountain lifestyle. But housing markets never move in straight lines. Today we're entering into a different phase. It's not a crash, it's not a boom, it's just simply a recalibration. The buyer still active in Invermere today is behaving very differently. They're taking longer to make decisions. They're negotiating more aggressively. They're comparing multiple properties before they're buying. And they're watching the interest rates really closely. That's not a sign of weakness in the market. That's simply a sign that the market is normalizing. So if you're planning to sell a home in Invermere this year, this is the most important thing that you need to understand. So pay attention. The benchmark price does not guarantee your home will sell for that amount. It represents an estimate for a typical property depending on location, views, proximity to the lake, or property condition. Your home could sell above or below that number, which means pricing strategy matters more than ever. Homes priced correctly, they're going to sell. Homes priced too aggressively may take longer. But here's the twist that most people miss. Because even though sales have slowed, Invermere still has one extremely powerful force supporting its housing market. And that's something very few communities actually have. Destination appeal. Lifestyle. Yeah, lakes and mountains. Invermere isn't just another small town. It's one of the primary vacation and recreation markets in the Columbia Valley. Between Lake Windermere, Panorama, golf resorts, skiing, boating, outdoor recreation, Invermere attracts buyers from across Western Canada. Many of those buyers aren't purely local. They're lifestyle buyers, and lifestyle buyers behave differently in housing market. They often buy with longer-term horizons, which can help stabilize demand even during slower economic periods. So there's three big changes that are coming right now to Invermere. Are you ready? Okay. First, low volume volatility. Because the market is so small, a handful of sales can dramatically influence price trends. Second, more strategic buyers. Buyers today are negotiating harder and analyzing properties more carefully. And third, continued lifestyle demand. Invermere's lake and recreation lifestyle continues attracting buyers from outside the region, which helps support long-term housing demand. Looking ahead into the rest of 2026, here's what I expect. Spring will likely bring in some more listings. Some buyers will re-enter the market, but pricing is going to remain disciplined. Homes priced correctly are going to sell. Homes priced aggressively and way too high, they're going to take longer and they may not even get a look. And the market's going to feel calmer, but way more strategic. The Invermere housing market isn't collapsing, but it is evolving. And emotional buying frenzy, it is over. The strategic decision phase has begun, and the people who succeed in this market will be the ones who understand the numbers behind the headlines. So Invermere remains one of the most desirable recreation markets in the Kootenay region. It offers lake access, mountain recreation, and lifestyle appeal that continues to attract buyers from all over Western Canada. And the markets with those characteristics tend to move in cycles, not in collapses. So if you're thinking about buying in Invermere, selling property, or simply wondering what your house might be worth in today's market, feel free to reach out. Give me a call, text, email, DM me even. It's all good. Because when markets shift like this, strategy matters more than ever. And the real question right now is simple. Are you seeing what's happening in the Invermere housing market? Thank you.